Well, you've raised a lot of good topics there, kind of as almost an overture to what I'd like to chat with you about the next 25, 28 minutes we've got in this show. So first of all, just from your perspective, the purpose of the referendum and why should people care about it? That's one of the things we're trying to get people interested about this, taking it seriously. But from your perspective as a nonpartisan office of the legislature, how would you kind of respond to that question?
Well, so the election, it's for British Columbians to decide which type of voting system will we use for provincial elections.
Right.
And how we elect our members of the Legislative Assembly, it's fundamental to our democracy. So I believe it's something that everyone should care about.
Right, right.
The choice of a voting system, it impacts voters, it impacts candidates, it impacts political parties, it impacts how the legislature functions.
Right.
It's very important. It's how votes are cast, how ballots are counted, how those votes translate into seats in the Legislative Assembly.
Right.
So it really affects how we're governed,
Right.
how our legislature functions. It affects things that impact us on a day-to-day basis.
Right, right. Well said. So in June, you received from the Attorney General and the government, they did a consultation, as you well know. They came up with 2 ballot questions. The government referred them to you for your advice, and you gave some comments on how to perhaps clarify or simplify. Perhaps, so the ballot questions people will be receiving, you had a look at and you actually had some input on, I guess, clarifying that. Could you just speak to a bit about how you looked at it, what kind of best practices you were keeping in mind to make sure this was as straightforward or clear and simple to voters as could possibly be?
Sure. So I guess I'll start by saying, you know, as I mentioned before, our role is on accessibility.
Right.
So anything that we can do that will help voters understand how they mark the ballot to express their preferences is important to us. So that's a starting point. The second starting point is, you know, it's not our role. It was not the role of Elections BC to comment on, you know, the choices on the ballot, the structure of the ballot, those types of questions. That's clearly government policy, and so government's responsible for that whole aspect of it. But for the wording and phrasing, how that's reflected on the ballot, we felt that we could provide some commentary to make that more accessible to voters, which is important to us.
And I guess in a way, what I saw, you were actually helping with some plainer language that might resonate with people who might not understand certain more precise technical governmental terms or constitutional terms, but
That's
just everyday language.
Everyday language.
Yeah, yeah.